Hello, 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 and welcome to another one line of code. I am One Lion. So I don't think I've heard this song before, and I was kind of interested to hear where it goes. I like this. I mean, it's probably played before, but man, I was just now able to hear it in its, you missed a T. Hear it in its completeness, in its full soundedness. Push a button. Go. Do the thing. But yeah, hi Big Amy. Hello Thindle. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Friday. The Friday after, oh my goodness, stop that. Let me refresh this. The Friday after Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, full scheduled .NET Conf fun times for those of you that attended. That background looks Swedish. Let's find out where we are. We are Windows Swap. Windows Swap, interact, says we are in Vallentuna, Stockholm, Sweden. You are absolutely right. Is this your window, Thindle? Are we looking out of your window or your wife's? Is your wife's name Linnea? Do you have a wife? Actually, you don't have to answer any of those things at all. We don't need you to dox yourself if any of that information is private to you. You do have to answer, says Mojo. Let me move stuff around. Finish moving stuff around. Today is Friday. You know what happens on Friday on our channel? Today is Community Day. Bang. Awesome. Hello, Raran Purov. Welcome in. You have a question. It says, how is something like Figma made? I just want to understand. How does the backend make changes to the front end in real time on the browser and vice versa? Not even the technology, just an overview of how it works. Can I read some stuff to understand? You most likely can read stuff. I have never looked it up, but my guess, and speaking of Figma, we may as well go to the desktop. My guess would be that Figma runs on some kind of service where it allows the front end to run native platform code. So C++, C#, like I would have made this in Blazor. But what that means is that there is a lot of interaction that happens within the browser itself. And like, this is a really good question, by the way. And you be a noob, be an expert and have this question. It doesn't matter. It's a good question. So there's a lot of interaction that happens in this window. So the things that I would look at are this. So this has Brotli compression. So it really does seem like it's possible they are running some kind of, yeah, it's React. Okay, so some kind of WASM adaptation to this, maybe, so that they can run native code to make it feel like an actual application, or they could just be that good with JavaScript. Which, again, I'm not discrediting. I don't mean to make fun of that, but they really, really could be that good. If they did it, they probably use a canvas, and they do use a canvas. They use a lot of JavaScript to create objects, to do a lot of that kind of stuff. But your other question was, how does it do real-time updates? So right here, you can see I'm on a different computer on the same FigJam page, moving my cursor around, and you can see it happening on the computer that we're using for the stream. And so how do we get these real-time updates? And that is typically done via a socket connection that is active and always listening. So what happens is my client on this other computer sends a message to the server and it says my cursor position is at. and then that sends a message, or the server receives that, and then broadcasts a message out to everyone that is listening on that socket, usually Signal R. I mean, I would use Signal R because, again, I'm a .NET developer. But some kind of socket connection where anyone that's connected will receive that message, and that message will be something like update this person's cursor position. And so when that happens, then you can see the animation happen to move the cursor from point A to point B. And that's typically how you would do real-time updates. So for us, I mean, like me as a Blazor developer, specifically in enterprise applications or productivity applications or line of business applications, those are the classes of applications I typically work with. It's just, here's some data that changes in the database, and then the server broadcasts a message to all of the connected clients who happen to be looking at a table that shows that data. In our financial management tracker, let's say multiple people have access to the same account, they're inputting transactions, and we want this list of data to update as people are entering information. I would have a Signal R client that says, hey, Signal R server, I would like to receive messages whenever you broadcast any, or send some directly to me. And then I will handle receiving messages in my code. So I receive a message that says transactions updated. I get the new record that's been added. And typically I wouldn't even send the record itself with the Signal R request because they're small messages. They should be really small messages. But I would just say, okay, give me all new, do an API request, give me all new transactions that happened from the most recent time that I checked for transactions. Instead of, so that is one approach to doing it. The old school way, can I call it that, of doing that is you have a JavaScript timeout that is just constantly polling the server, give me all new transactions since the last time I checked, and then poll again every 10 seconds, every however long you want to have it happen. And that was just wasteful because that was a whole bunch of extra network requests that you wouldn't need to make. Instead, you're just sitting there on an active socket and you receive a message, and that's when you ask the server for updated data. Anyway, so let me know if that helped out. And you said it is WASM, but I have no idea WTF that is. Cool. So our application happens to be a WebAssembly. Well, one of the application types that we use is WebAssembly. And so that's what WASM stands for. And what WebAssembly means is that you take your native code and then you transpile it into this binary code that the browser can understand. Not really binary. I guess it's still assembly code. So it's human readable-ish if you know how to read assembly. So what that means for us is the app actually still running. The app is running. That's fun. Is that what Microsoft decided to do with this WASM thing is instead of compiling every single class or DLL into WebAssembly, they decided, why don't we only make the .NET runtime into WebAssembly? So we only have to convert one massive thing into WebAssembly, ship that to the browser, and run that in the browser. Oh, I guess I forgot that part. So really what you're doing is you're taking your native code, transpiling it from whatever your native code is to WebAssembly, and then running that directly in the browser. And therefore it feels like an application that you just loaded on your desktop. It's really, really close to that. So for .NET, what that means is you take this .NET runtime, so the actual thing that makes .NET applications work, and then you turn that into WebAssembly, load that in the browser, and then you run your DLLs, your entire application through that runtime. So it feels like you're running a native application in the browser. You can do everything that you can do with .NET as far as creating classes, making rich interactive UI. This side drawer, for example, pops out without needing to refresh the page. It's just a C# if statement that says if the sidebar should be showing, then show it. They're not DLLs anymore in .NET 8, according to Marcus. Yeah, I didn't get all of the information. I probably should have. But at least up until now, up until .NET 8, they were DLLs that get shipped to the browser. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to ask any questions, especially today. So, as I was starting to mention though, today is Community Day on our channel, and what that means is I will be paying extra special attention to chat, as well as having the Discord voice channel open. I tried guest star last week, but then we made a couple more considerations, which are if I use both guest star and Discord, then people will, oh yes, absolutely, let me pull you in. Then people will not be able to, like the people in Discord would not be able to hear the people in, the people in Discord would not be able to hear.
I do not hear you.
Yeah, that was because I was mute. I was deafened and muted. Sorry. So the people in Discord wouldn't be able to hear the people in guest star. Mute the stream. Mute that stream. So the people in Discord.
Oh, I gotta mute my. Yeah, sorry, I had you on. So if you heard yourself from 20 seconds ago, sorry.
Okay, so I have my virtual camera, turning that on, and ladies and gentlemen, the first person in our Community Day chat, who only has about 20 minutes, is Peter. Hello, welcome, Peter.
What's up? What's up? Hey, how was the week? What was your exciting? Have you talked about it? I literally just got.
I haven't talked about it. I haven't talked about anything yet. Just answering a question from chat.
I'm reading a bunch of things.
Yeah, I'm reading through chat
man.
too.
That's going crazy.
Yeah, it was a really good question too, from a first-time chatter at that. How does Figma work, and how does this real-time update stuff work? Did that.
And I just answer, Figma is a design tool, and it has nothing, am I right? It has nothing to do with the backend changes in real time. Like you.
Kind of.
You answer. Your turn.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely did
answer.
address it. But like one thing was like, if I'm on a different computer and I'm moving my mouse around on the same fig jam that someone else is looking at, how does it know to update the position that my cursor is at on this other computer? So that to me is a back-end process where computer A, the one that I am moving my cursor around on, sends a message to the server and says, I've updated my position. Server then broadcasts in some WebSocket-y kind of way to any listeners and says, hey, here's a cursor update for this user. Update your UI. But I still think that the majority of the code for the UI itself is running locally in the browser as a WebAssembly. And then it was confirmed that it was WebAssembly, and yeah, the end.
So, what was your favorite thing from this week? I was watching a lot. I seen you in the chat some of the time.
A couple times, and then I got super duper swamped. So I didn't get to watch most of the Maui stuff, which I was looking forward to. That's what I missed the most. But one of the coolest things was when Eagle was talking about using Playwright as well as BUnit, and I need to watch that like 80 more times.
Oh, so Playwright will just go at the browser layer. BUnit also goes at the browser layer. No,
yeah, I mean kind of, but it renders all of the components in memory without needing to show a browser.
No browser. Okay, so there's a slight difference. So
yeah,
that's whatever. So all your tests will break, and every time you upgrade Chrome potentially. That was my Selenium experience. That was everyone. We were all like, "This can't be like this, right?" And it was like, "No, just Chrome updated, so you can't run your tests anymore."
That's crazy.
Until the Selenium WebDriver sends an update,
catches up,
and supports your browser. You're like, "Well, this is crazy," and then you're like, "Well, I don't know." Yeah.
So I am
anyway.
at a Mojo forward statement. If you want to follow me in chat. So I have a new book recommendation for UX. My stepdad sent me the 3rd edition of a book called About Face and said he has the 1st and 2nd editions and they helped him immensely.
Okay.
Oop, just kidding. It was the 4th edition. And it was written by the father of Visual Basic with many air quotes.
Okay. About Face, interesting.
And then Thindle was agreeing with me essentially as far as how Figma moves. Figma works. And then he explained WebAssembly as a simplified 211. Huh? It's a programming language that's as in super duper watered down explanation of how WebAssembly works or what it is. It's a programming language that's written for computers, not people, so your programming language of choice gets changed into that language. That's what I called transpiling, and that's what gets sent to your browser, and that's what runs. Marcus Voice Coder corrected me saying that Blazor in .NET 8 doesn't send DLLs anymore. They send something different, and then Ron Paragraph was grateful for it, and then Peter came in, and now we're extremely happy. So, yeah.
And Thindle said he's busy.
Thindle said he's busy, and so did Mojo.
Chatting a lot. And yes, Thindle was. I saw Thindle. I try not to acknowledge y'all in public. You know, we see each other in public, maybe give a brief nod, but don't like acknowledge that we actually recognize each other's username. All right. R. Aaron.
Oh, that's probably what it is. I was saying Ron.
Good dude. I was about to attempt the second half, and then I think you're more correct. Yeah, I'll call you Raf. Raf. Can I ask where the code stored with the browser running? That has nothing to do with working as cook. Wait, cool. Hey.
Again, more good questions, man. I like it. There is actually a WASM. Can I clear my cache? Okay, so you can see where the .NET WASM file gets downloaded, or for Blazor, where the .NET WASM file gets downloaded if you filter out to just that. But if you go into application, and this is Chrome specifically, I don't know any of you. I will not acknowledge you in public. If you go into the application tab, I'll get to my point of view on that, because you like hot takes, but I have kind of a hot take as far as public settings are concerned. Anyway, cache storage is one of the things that you get inside of a browser. That's where all of my .NET DLLs, again, this is .NET 7, so I honestly don't know what they are in .NET 8 if they're not DLLs. They're like a new binary code format, I think. I kind of remember something like that. But anyway, so they're all stored in cache. So that would mean that this is more disk bound as opposed to being stored in memory. But as soon as you run the DLL through the .NET runtime, then that's when you're pulling it into memory and then running it that way. I like hot everything. Marcus said, I think some systems were blocking them as potential security risk. Not sure exactly what they are now. Yeah, I'm starting to remember some kind of file extension that starts with A. good friend, Patrick God. Even though we've never met, I've never talked to him, but he's still my good friend. He just doesn't know it. It's WebCIL. That sounds familiar.
It's .wasm.
Like all of them are getting changed to .wasm?
No, I just see like by default packages .NET assemblies as WASM files using the WebCIL file format. Look, I don't know anything. I know nothing about this.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've only heard of it. I knew they were doing something with it, but I didn't know that they were turning all of the files into .wasm files. I thought there was another file extension type. Excuse me. This music, though. Anyway, it's something else now. That's what we know. It's not DLLs because browsers block DLLs, so let's put a different extension on it and the browser won't block it. Same file though.
Yeah. So this is the nature of security tools.
Yeah. How do you email a .zip file? Change the extension .txt.
That's it. Well, I don't like .txt specifically because of email and FTP. I think they mangle line endings, especially FTP. That was the old classic FTP would mangle line endings if it thought it was a text file.
Change it to .jpeg, .ping, .gif.
Perfect. So yeah, so you missed all the great announcements that you actually do care about, whereas I am mostly waiting for Ignite to finish and then get my Azure newsletter.
Were you actually attending the Ignite sessions?
No. So this is the secret. Yeah, this is the secret. What is I have a weekly newsletter. I think it's called Azure Weekly. I can't remember. Sorry. Azure Weekly. I got number 444 last week. So they are powered by Engine, which is a consulting company, but I'm very thankful for their service they provide. So I'll tip their products, which is consulting. Anyway, they'll send me a newsletter next week and I'll just read that. And then that will save me about 18 hours because you really don't. Just imagine like you had to read everything, all Azure updates, and how soul draining that would be, especially if you have to watch a video about it, like all of it. So just imagine that for yourself who doesn't work in Azure, and then for me who does, it's exactly the same feeling, just so you know. But if I use it, if it's like, hey, here's an update to storage accounts where we made them 50% cheaper, like that's interesting. Which, by the way, they did add cold storage.
Ooh.
So that was an example of something that's interesting to me, but still like soul draining. So I can only do so much soul draining at once, which is why those newsletters are so good. So, Azure Weekly newsletter. I commend it to your attention if you do Azure work. Raf says, nice. They're going to assume cache is RAM and cookie is SSD. I'm not sure what the original question was. Where is the code stored?
Yeah, where is all of the WASM and DLLs and stuff like that stored?
Raf, there's a third thing that is not a cookie. If you rename the word cookie to local
storage,
we actually call it a cache, even though it's on disk. It's not an in-memory cache, it's a disk cache. So cache is a generic term for caching things. Yeah, that's not a very good explanation, is it?
Yeah, I honestly don't know where this is stored. The cache that you are referring to.
So yeah, I think I have the better answer. Cache is stored on disk, and cookies are also stored on disk. So
And
there
that
you go.
was my guess. Because you wouldn't load all of these DLLs in memory. You would only load the ones that are being actively used and run through the .NET runtime.
Yeah, that is quite a lot of things. That's quite a lot. Wow. There's a lot of PDBs in there too.
Yeah,
So
definitely, because I
you're
am
in
running.
dev.
Yeah, I'm running a dev.
Okay.
Hi.
There we go. My good buddy Raph says got it.
Got it.
We're good buddies now. But again, if I see you in another channel, I will
not acknowledge. Speaking of, okay, so my very short, very small hot take is when I'm in larger conference type settings, the only time that I really like to speak and really like to see other people speak is when they have stuff to contribute to the current topic and they are asking questions about it, not just to say, here's look at me, I'm doing all of this amazing stuff with this technology. Unless it's feedback. It's like I'm doing this and I'm excited about it to get other people excited. But a lot of the times as humans, we tend to be more what's the gentle word for this? Narcissistic.
Self-promoting.
Self-promoting, that's the gentle
Self-interested. Self-interested is a legitimate.
And it's like, look at me, see me. I'm doing this stuff before all of you. I don't like that. So that's one of the reasons that I turned away from the actual stream, and I was like, I just need to collapse chat, but then I just ended up not watching the streams. But the other one was I was just extremely busy with this new issue that I'm running into that I can't figure out because I get obsessed when I get in those situations. But the reason that I don't say that very often is because what am I doing streaming? Look at me. That's what it seems like, at least.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, we all get stuff out of streaming. Unless we don't stream, which is why maybe we should figure out what we can get out of streaming. But those of us who thought we would get something out of streaming, it's just so cool. Anyway, I'm mostly lazy. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
I just don't feel it.
I'm gonna keep saying that my reason for streaming, I think, and I could be completely wrong because I can't fully see myself, is that I get to talk with other developers. And as someone that is remote developer and works in a silo, a team of individual silos, I don't really get to talk to other developers about the technologies I am excited about.
That was always, even at big consulting companies, which I've worked for, you didn't get to talk to people I've been multiple. So I always sought out those little communities where people were willing to talk. You'll have like, I think I predated Slack entirely. You'll have like an online spot where you can talk about various things. It's probably a graveyard desert. Because once you get too many people, then it's like, why am I even joining this versus a public internet one?
Yeah. Like for Sagetti, it's Teams, and it's really, really annoying.
Okay. Oh, Mojo's here, by the way. He wants in.
He wants in? He doesn't want in. He's not on a voice channel. So
what?
So you get invited to actually just added to teams, and it's like, I didn't sign up for this, but I kind of feel like I can't leave this team because bad impression of me or something, and it would affect my employment with Sagetti, even though it's not true, probably, maybe, but it feels that way. But then these guys, the client that I'm on the team working with, uses, what is this thing called?
Either Slack, Teams, or something weird.
It's something we know. I just can't think of the name of this thing. It's definitely not Slack. Go to conversation.
Is it like a Yammer
Yammer
or something crazy?
Yeah,
Oh
yep.
my God,
You
don't
thought
let
about it
Yammer-
right away.
You're the last Yammer user. Because Yammer was, they bought by Microsoft. It looks like Facebook, or at least the part that I remember. They probably rebuilt 2/3 of it. Like, it looked great. It worked. It was a great private Facebook. Uh-oh. There we go. Welcome.
Mic check, please.
Mic check.
They stammer on Yammer.
Super quiet. Let me turn you up.
Mic check.
I have to leave at any moment.
Checked.
Just want to let y'all know, once I get pinged, it's out.
No.
Yep.
Do they stammer on Yammer?
Nice. Welcome.
You joined
So-
Yammer this year for CSPP. What is CSPP?
The
Mojo?
cloud storage partner program for integrating Excel and or Office into like your platform. All of that's happening on Yammer. Like,
Weird.
it's weird from when you join it, and try to like figure out where things are supposed to exist, because it doesn't seem organized.
I don't know. You got to choose something. I wish we had public forums like in 25 years ago, but those are not happening anymore for whatever reason. And Microsoft always takes their help forums and then destroys the content anyway. So every few years, it seems like. I think they've been doing a little better about that with their help forums recently, but they tend to just blow up all of their forums. But I would prefer forums, but I will just say, like, having an official Discord weirds me out because I do feel like that's a gaming thing. Like, we're in the liminal space here on Twitch between gaming and programming. Liminal space is a very advanced concept, by the way.
It's where I exist. I exist in 5D.
There you go. But like, we're in this weird spot where having Discords kind of makes sense, but I don't know. Having like the Golang Discord feels very weird.
Or a specific team Discord. What about Gitter?
I've never used it. I've heard
I hardly
there's some
know her.
.NET projects. No.
Hardly know her.
That's dumb.
Can't get her. I hardly know her.
Yeah.
I used it for when Blazor first came out, and oh my gosh, Steve Sanderson was active on it, and I saw him once, and I was like, stars up and close.
It's random. Like, some of the .NET people who are semi-famous have streamed, and then they had like 10 viewers. So
yeah.
No offense
really
to 10 viewers. We're running steady at 15 right now, but you know what I mean. You would think like...
I have no idea what our normal is anyway. I don't really look at that.
Yeah, but if you look at the what is it, the quality of chat, like that Harry Potter professor who measured the quality of the chat. That's a Harry Potter reference, the first of many today.
The first of many.
Yeah, we'll work in as many as we can. Marcus says Lotus Notes, of course. Yeah. I never understand why they keep inventing new things when they already exist. And yeah, Lotus Notes was the preeminent, and then they charged literally the company I worked for a long time ago $1 million a year in support, and it was not worth it. So I can tell you why they reinvented Lotus Notes, because they were charging companies $1 million a year, and only the ones who were stuck stayed. Right, Raph.
Yes. Yeah. So Ron is picking up on this concept of edge compute. Offload all of your client-specific stuff to the client, and your servers are nice and clean.
Yep. So it's like a very small amount of scores and whatnot. And by the way, Raph, it's like those Flash sites, I think they have like a centralized place. I don't even know if they even are allowed to talk to anything but the server that hosts them. So most of them are like, if it was Newgrounds, like, and you had achievements and scores, it was all stored with Newgrounds. It wasn't even with that game specifically. So it's even weirder. The truth is even weirder. But if you manage to find the one website in the world that did Flash games that were self-hosted, I guess. Yeah, that thing.
Truth is good.
But even that, like, what? And has anyone played? It was called hand-drawn tower defense.
No.
And it was a whole thing, like a long time ago, and I was addicted to it, and then I tried to play it again. Desktop, yeah, that one. It was hand-drawn games, desktop tower defense. Yeah, that was definitely it. The first few, yeah, it was black and white, and is that second image? I don't know. Yeah, that was it. No, that wasn't it. Dang it! Whatever, just whatever. Hey.
But it was something like this, is what you're getting at.
It was
so
like
it has this
one,
kind
that's
of
the one.
feel.
That's the one. You highlighted it perfect. And it
desktop tower defense.
And it was self-hosted. And of course it was the Wordle of its day, except not for normies, for us gaming addicts. Anyway, so
I don't know. I've never heard of this.
I know, because you're not like 80 years old like I am. So you were.
I got my first laptop 20 years ago. I was gaming then.
Yeah, I got my first gray hair 20 years ago.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I'm old. That's all I'm saying.
Does anybody remember a game where you controlled flying insects by C code? Nope.
No thanks.
Okay, if you're old, can you explain this to me?
No. I can't.
I don't know much about.
Typically, as an old person, I can say I cannot explain things to you. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't know much about Visual Basic, but my stepdad, who learned Visual Basic many odd years ago, overheard me say that I'm working on part of the UX on this redesign, and he sent me a book by the father of Visual Basic about design. What should I give the father of Visual Basic any credit or
yeah,
maybe probably some good concepts in there. Okay. If he's talking about like when to use, I don't know, like radio buttons versus check boxes.
Book.
Oh my goodness! We'll just skim.
It's about
Visual
Basic
books were massive though.
Well, no. It's interaction design, and it's just written by the father of Visual Basic. Luckily it's not a book about Visual Basic.
Yeah. So the main thing about Visual Basic is it's event driven. So you do something and then you run code. There isn't anything that just like runs code, like scripting wise. I mean, you can write VB script, but like Visual Basic as a concept is more, well, as the language progressed, it got just object oriented, focused, and it's just line break instead of.
So you're asking if the book is valuable to read 600 pages. That sounds
well,
like
if this guy. Well, I mean, when I just like open it up on a random page, it is interesting. So I am going to read it. Just, I don't know. If I was told like, hey, here's this book on design and it was written by the father of Visual Basic, I'd be like, why should I trust him? But again, never touch Visual Basic.
It's, I mean,
to know like why in its time it was popular. Which is why I was asking if you're old then.
Well, I mean, like I liked it. I originally started off on Visual Basic when I was doing, I guess it wasn't really .NET at the time, but when I was doing coding in general, I started off with QBasic back in 1812, and then VB. I skipped like most of it, but VB6 is where I was really starting to create applications, and just the whole thing of being able to drag and drop controls onto a form to create your UI and then hook those up to events in the back and then run code when a button is clicked, when a thing is hovered over, or whatever event happens. And it was really easy to use the language because I didn't have to remember to put semicolons at the end of the lines. I could tell where the end of a block was because I look for, like if you have a while statement, while wend, WN.
Yeah.
So I could tell.
Visual Basic or Visual Basic for applications?
Well, both, right?
Okay. I've only done BPA.
So one thing you said in that was
More human readable.
you would drag and drop your UI elements.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
You still
Yeah,
can?
so think WinForms.
Never touched WinForms, but I believe you.
All right, I gotta bail. Let me give my stand up.
Yep.
Yesterday, kind of farted around. Today, watched some .NET Conf videos. Feeling a little grumpy, a little bit gassy. The blockers.
Just drop.
He's
just
out.
like
I love
that.
how he just drops. It's like, what about the other people that need to give their stand up? We have someone on our team that does that. They're like, I gave my stand up. That's all that matters. I don't need anyone else.
I
What if other people
would
need
love
you?
to do that. Usually I check out as soon as I give mine, but I'm usually like the last one asked, so.
Yeah, and Peter is like, I will lurk and pretend to listen to your stand-ups. Which is essentially what you said you do anyway.
Yeah. I have my camera off and I'm like, yep, doing the same thing I was doing yesterday. Just, figure out a different way to say it, and then I need a thesaurus on my desk.
Today, oh man, I don't like and I am going to be candid about it because I tell him anyway. I don't like the way that our project manager runs stand-ups because it starts off, we have a stand-up that starts at 9:30. It used to start at 9:35 because the client does this whole 5 minutes before a meeting and 5 minutes at the end of the meeting. You give that buffer so that if people have back-to-back meetings and need to take breaks between them, they have that buffer, which is awesome. But with the renewed contract, they're like, no, let's just make it 9:30. It doesn't matter. It's just a stand-up. And since then, I've had about 3 meetings immediately after stand-up that were scheduled, and I'm like, man, I really gotta pee.
Yeah.
But anyway, so stand-up usually goes. It's supposed to start at 9:30. I show up at 9:29. A couple other people might show up 9:28, 9:29, 9:30, and then if the PM isn't there within 5 minutes, then I start stand up. We go through everyone. PM shows up while the last person is giving their stand up, and then starts talking about some random thing. And then it's like, okay, so who's gone? What have we talked about? And then starts asking questions about stuff that people have already mentioned. So that's one thing that happens. If the PM shows up on time, the thing that he does is he'll start talking about some random thing and then catch himself and be like, okay, so let's start stand up. UFI team, go. And so UFI team does their stand up and someone says one thing and he's like, whoa, and then he'll interrupt and then have a 30-minute conversation about that one thing. It's like, that's not what stand-ups are for. Make your notes and then talk to them after stand-up on a individual basis.
I don't know when I've seen it done right. Well, I say that, but when I was interning at Red Hat, it was everybody was always had their foot out the door.
For the most part.
So in any meeting I was in, whether it was a stand-up or just like a one-on-one, it was like, we scheduled 15-30 minutes, but we are not going to use the entirety of this time. Granted, this was mostly with the salespeople. So maybe not everybody was but was essentially always had their foot out the door. But it actually, so I hated it as an intern because I was like, I'm trying to get a job after. But I would love that now. I would love people to just get to the point with any of that. Just please.
It really is just to me, and I haven't taken any Scrum Master classes or anything like that, but to me it's like your stand-up is you're kind of checking in with the team to let them know, hey, I'm active, I'm alive, especially in our remote situation where none of us are really in the same office together.
Right.
So you give your I'm alive, I am actively working on things, and I actually need to get in contact with tester. I need to get in contact with other developer. or I need help with this specific thing. If anyone can help me, let's talk about it after stand up. But again, that's like you just give your stand up. You are the center of that conversation until after everyone has gone, and then you do your break off sessions if there are break off sessions. But stand up itself should be no more than 15 minutes.
Oh, man,
In
that would be
market.
nice.
Yeah.
I
Instead
think
of someone brought something up, I need to address that and say, no, you're wrong. You're going about it the wrong way.
right.
And
No,
tell
ours
everyone
are
else on the team that you, one person, is doing it wrong. No
right.
one
So
else cares.
my boss usually runs the stand, like my boss, the owner, small company. Uh, he usually runs the stand-ups, but when he's out, we fly through the stand-up. It's like, hey, like I'm good, working on this, same stuff. Especially like on the development side, a lot of these things are just like processes, and these things take time. And at the end of the day, like there's nobody in the stand-up because like my senior dev, there's nobody in the stand-up that like one can help me with any blockers because my senior dev gets on later. So he just gets on later, and then I'm like, well, I'll just talk to him later. So I'm here to be here to have a presence, but I don't have anything for everyone in this chat or in this call.
Like that in this chat.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah,
have a
no, I
blocker.
agree with Marcus. As long as he keeps
Yeah.
paying.
Yeah, and for me, we have a client meeting every Wednesday, and it's an hour-long client meeting that starts at 3, and I usually end my day at 3:30. It's so annoying. And then one of the things that they've tended to say, like especially if we're getting close to a release, it's like, so make sure that gets done before you guys leave for the day. And it's like, this is the last thing I'm doing today, so no.
So do you? So with your work, I assume the company does like consulting type work. Like
I
consulting is
mean,
always
yes,
a
Sagetti
vague.
is a consulting firm. Yes.
Okay. But then you're just like on one project, or are you on
Yes.
multiple? Okay.
Currently, I'm only on one project, but I am a part of a few. There's an AI Tiger team that I tried to be involved with. There was a metaverse team for a while that we were trying to make a minimum viable product for an accelerator. No, I did not mean to resize that. I need to stop doing that. I was fidgeting and I resized my slipstream window,
So
which affects the display.
those projects you were on, the it sounds like they're side projects, for lack of a better term, but
Yeah.
were those, so the one like you mainly work on is for a client, but these other ones,
Yes.
were they just for internal purposes?
Internal purposes. So accelerators for consulting firms are just, here is a starter app so that if you want to integrate this type, like if you wanted to integrate an AI chatbot, then we have this thing where we just feed your data into it and it's ready. You just plug it into your app, or your team plugs it into your app for you. Or here is this entire framework that we have, or methodology that we already have, that we just apply to your business use case.
So as somebody who is implementing an AI chatbot into their website, what do I need to do for that? No, I'm just kidding. They just want me to use like
Pay a lot of money and use Azure
the
OpenAI.
the CMSs. Well, so at the .NET conference with their Blazor full stack talk on the first day, they
Which I
made
saw
it seem
part of.
simple. They had a chatbot on the e-commerce shop, and then they showed you how they made the chatbot with whatever AI package in .NET 8. Granted, it might not be full machine learning. I don't know, but it seemed They made it seem easy, and I just might, be naive.
Was it the one with Steve and Dan?
Yes, it was 2422 timestamp. Actually, I remember. I sent it to my senior dev. Yep. So then, in a little bit later, they show you the code, and then just like, yeah, we're just using a package that's in .NET 8. It might have been in .NET 7.
Pay for GitHub Copilot, or you can pay for OpenAI subscription. One thing that I did like, it's weird. I wanted to watch a lot more from the .NET 8 Conf live so that I can, ask questions if I had any. But then, as I mentioned earlier, it was just more of a, yeah. Anyway, so I ended up watching some of the OpenAI's conference talks that they had a week or so ago. And there's this cool feature in it where you can create your own GPT kind of thing. And so I tried that out, and it works okay, but it's essentially the same concept of what you would do if you were using Azure's cloud services. So Azure Cognitive AI, hard for me to say, is one of the services where you feed it a whole bunch of documents, and that's probably where this content is coming from. They fed it their FAQ, they fed it their website, and it crawled their website and got the answers. I'm waiting.
When you say where it's coming from, like this is what they were showing. Yeah.
I'm waiting. You're gonna say something.
Well, no. This is what I was wondering if was this in 7 before? I can't remember what they said, but essentially they made it seem like you can just code it up, and it didn't seem like it was using any external service.
Oh, interesting.
I could be wrong. Got to find the code's on GitHub, I believe.
This is managing the cart. That didn't have anything to do with the chat client.
Oh, well, this is add to cart, but this is so the chatbot in that video. They were like, "Hey, can you add this to my cart?" And then the chatbot.
Oh, so they were telling the chatbot to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are the thing that you're trying to get to is
like, is that just a package in
control?
.NET?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the whole video isn't about the AI chatbot, so they might be on something else now.
And it was appearing on the UI. Show me again. Okay, so up here we have a cart, and then we tell it to add it to my cart. And then we see the badge show up, and it does it.
And it's asking for the first bag to be added to the cart.
Yeah. So chatstate.catalogservice.get. Yeah, so this isn't even AI, but like the thing that they aren't. Oh, yeah, the thing that I didn't hear yet, or just haven't been able to listen to, is this attribute here, this SK function description adds a blah, 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 blah. So there's something happening when you push that submit to chat that is doing the natural language processing to figure out what is the context, what are we doing, and then it calls this method that just says add to cart.
Okay.
So they're not actually showing, at least not in the code screen here, how it's turning that chat message into this action.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'll have to look at what I remember they were talking about a package
Hey, Big Amy.
that was doing some of that, but I don't know where their code is.
Do you guys have a reference to this on GitHub?
it might be through their. I'll look for it and I'll let you know. It might be through their documentation because I noticed a lot of their .NET 8 documentation was this e-commerce shop.
Superheroes, man. They live among us. Bless you.
Sorry, the dog started barking. As soon as I unmuted, he just decided to bark.
That was quite a large application. Wait, no. DFlux is here. So if you guys don't know Big Gamey, by the way, I gave him a shout out. He's a fantastic game developer. He is amazing. Really cool personality. I can't say enough good things about him. I love hanging out with him. Definitely check out his streams. He is live. Amazing to hang out with. We got DFlux in the waiting room. Be prepared to not be able to talk anymore. Are you going to be nice to us, DFlux? Are you going to be nice to us?
No comment.
No comment, he says.
Yeah, no comment. How have you? I've been obviously perusing the .NET. How's it for you?
I didn't get the best chance to watch a lot of the stuff. I was kind of complaining at myself earlier that I didn't watch or actively watch as much of it as I thought I was going to. I lost out on a lot of the live Maui stuff, and I was really, really interested in seeing that. So I have some catching up to do.
I don't know when you say Maui, do you mean the Blazor Maui or the regular Maui? Because I didn't see much
hybrid.
in terms of hybrid. Yeah, I didn't see much myself.
Like one thing that I asked and was hoping would get covered, but doubt it did, is are there any improvements to the WebView 2 control in general? Because that's how we are displaying our Blazor content in Maui and WPF, etc. Would have been nice. Would have been nice.
Yeah, I'm still going through
again.
And checking. I did get on. I watched part of .NET Conf. They did a whole Godot thing, and so I've been doing some Godot development, which is Godot development has been fun. And I was thinking about how you can actually render Blazor stuff outside of Blazor now with .NET 8, so you can just render HTML. You know, obviously it's not interactive, but you can render that stuff. Now I could just slap that in there, have a UI, have a little menu thing, and just have it render.
Yeah, one thing I was wanting to do was update my bot so that the timer, for example, would be from my own browser source from my running bot, but the browser source doesn't support WASM in OBS, so I have to change it to Blazor server.
True. Yeah, this is true. Or well, yeah, this is true. I wonder how that exactly plays out if you were to enable the client side of Blazor to do that in the Razor file. How it would actually cope if it just gets to a point and says, actually, no, I'm going to fall back.
Did your mic do the cutout thing again?
Oh, I was like, did my mic cut out or did my headphones cut out?
It's DFlux's microphone. It does this weird thing where he's talking and then it just... I'm not going to let you talk anymore for like 10 seconds.
He might be like me. Well, his probably cuts out, but I do this thing where my headset dies. I plug it in, but then I unplug it before it's finished charging. So I'll just cut out randomly. I try not to do it, but...
I swear, I have this reoccurring thing that happens like about every 8 months or so. I will install Voice Meter and I'll install NVIDIA Broadcast, whatever it is. And then for like 6 months, everything just works beautifully. And on the 7th month, I'll just start randomly cutting out, and then I get frustrated, and I'll just uninstall all those apps, and then it
magically works, is what he was gonna say.
Oh.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's crazy because we see his little avatar thingy light up like he's talking, but we can't actually hear him.
So I did find, I know he'll be back in a second, but I did find the code that they were showing.
Oh, cool. Post. Let me know.
You
did post.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I don't know it. Maybe it's just the Azure.ai.openai package. But this is what I'm going to be looking into this weekend.
Yeah, there. Dang it. So that's what it looks like if I try to use my bot in a browser source with Blazor Wasm. Okay, I usually manage to mute myself on Microsoft Teams. I forget I'm controlling the computer by voice. The really annoying thing is I have my headphones, my Bluetooth headphones that I connect to my Sageti machine when we have meetings that I know that I need to be active in and talk in. But I mute myself using the mute button in Teams, and my headphones beep at me every 5 seconds when I'm muted. It's so annoying. And it's not a quiet beep either.
Is it a setting you can toggle? I'm sure like
when I
that audible
researched it, they said
notification's helpful.
push the keyboard shortcut to unmute, even though it doesn't unmute you in Teams. And then your headphones just stop beeping. But I have to do that every single time that I turn mute off.
Do you have a because you're a streamer, I don't know what they're called though. A thing that has like simple commands programmed into it with buttons, whether it's touch
the
screen
Stream
or
Deck, anything? No, I do not.
Okay, I saw like I'm a keyboard fanatic.
Me too. I love keyboard
and
shortcuts.
I saw somebody built their own little like macro pad, and one of the big button on there was mute and unmute the microphone, and I was like, I might actually want this.
Oh,
just
yeah,
like
it's
a button
easy
off to the side
for the stream because I have a mute button on my microphone, so that's easy. For my client machine, we use Zoom, so it's Control Shift Alt Q for me because that's what I told it to be. Mute and unmute.
So I unplugged my expensive stuff and plugged in.
Well, you are super duper quiet.
Yeah, that's one of the things I noticed, how quiet I am now.
Sounds like Honey,
I'm
I
back,
Shrunk the
DFlux.
Kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking around, like where is he?
Let me see if I can turn it on.
Yes, please. As we all just sit and wait. Don't do anything else. Tell me about this thing that you found.
Oh, well, that was just the code.
Yep, there it is. So I think this OpenAI is probably Azure AI OpenAI. So they have a backend service in Azure for OpenAI. And so my guess is they send whatever input text plus context to to their agent, and then their agent does the natural language processing, and then based off of that, like one technique that I saw that was really cool is summarize the chat message that you received and turn it into one of these standard messages, the one that fits it the closest. That is your command and control portion. So command and control is where you speak to a machine and it only understands specific commands. So open X window, open whatever else. So it turns it into one of those, and then that's how the app knows. All right, so it tells me that I need, here's the response, and the response is this specific string or this specific message that I know I need to do an action off of.
So in this code, if you don't have an Azure subscription, if you're not connected to the internet, this won't work?
Correct. And also, if you don't have their, like, I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that they aren't just using a GPT model, a stock GPT model. They have customized that stock GPT model in their OpenAI service with their own data. So again, their own FAQ document, maybe their website, and it knows how to get content from their website.
in the parent folder chatbot,
Yes.
in their
yes.
configuration, they say GPT. Well, actually, if the configuration's not there, use GPT 3.5 Turbo-16K.
Microphone check.
You
You're
are
there.
microphone checked.
Am I nice and loud now? Did that fix it?
You are clear and good. Is he
So
too
we'll
loud?
see.
Chat? Whoa. Except now
Nope.
you just kind of...
Never too loud. Never too. No, I stopped
There you
talking.
go.
So no one can over you. So I switched from my expensive stuff to my really cheap stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll see if this now cuts out, or if the really expensive stuff is just junk. We'll see.
Radio clear. Says
Radio
Marcus
clear.
voice code. Somebody has come up with pseudocode to use with ChatGPT. Apparently, there's even a GitHub for it.
So it's supposed to be. We're supposed to call it semantic kernel now. I thought everything is semantic kernel. There is no. Everything's supposed to be called that now, isn't it?
regarding what? What is semantic kernel referring to? What
That's
is it
like the whole
replacing?
OpenAI Nugget, OpenAI C# integration.
They did have
Okay. Okay.
semantic kernel packages in the last file.
Yeah, that's what makes sense, or that makes sense for what we saw in the Blazor one. So one of the attributes that I said I didn't recognize here in
Oh, the
20
SK. Yeah.
was this SK function. So I think DFlux just told us what that is.
Yep.
Um,
And it sounds like it's. I don't know why they called it I kind of know. They call it semantic kernel. It definitely does not run on the kernel. It's an SDK for OpenAI, is what it is. But there you go.
Like the general, I don't exactly know what a kernel is, but the general concept sounds to me like they're providing this launch pad for all AI functionality. And so semantic kernel sounds like you are interacting or interfacing with the kernel using semantic commands, semantic speech, semantic text.
Yep.
As opposed
Something like
to
that. Something
actual
like that.
machine code.
Yep.
Interesting. Maybe they mean the kernel of the server. Did it translate that for you, Marcus? I love that. You probably said maybe they mean the kernel on the server, and it
Yep.
actually wrote out kernel.
That's the 10 hut command. You see that? We're lining up. Yep.
Goodness. Oh man, but yeah, I really do wish I had more to talk about for the .NET conference, but I haven't even been touching .NET 8 yet.
I've been running it for months.
Yeah, I know.
I was gonna say I was thinking of doing something internally where I work to like sort of talk about upgrading things to .NET 8 or whatever, but I really can't be effed, so I haven't yet.
Yeah, I definitely want to do our app for sure, our stream app to .NET 8, see what that upgrade process is like, but I'm not in a hurry because right now we are focused on that redesign step because that's what I started and I want to finish that before moving on to the next thing, even though it's all shiny and new and I want to touch it and play with it.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll just check. I touched on it. I mentioned it. I know you have doing it from a different angle, but for Setlix's channel, that's what I had worked out how to do authentication with Twitch and use Azure AD's B2C. So I have like the .NET abilities with Twitch. So a user can go to the website and it redirects them to the Twitch login. They then come back and we have their Twitch ID, so we know who is actually on the web page. And obviously from there you can do whatever you need to do. And there's like the B2C doesn't have roles. I wish they did. They don't have roles. But obviously you can use that ID, and you can also put other things in like the token. So you can put things like that. You could use like a denotation and put it in like the city, right? Because we're not using the city tag, so we can put information in there. Then inside the token we can just call the city and be like, does this equal admin? No, okay, then they can't run this command, and so on.
Yeah, that's really weird. That sounds like a
yeah.
terrible hack. There's got to be a way to still have some kind of RBAC implementation.
One of the solutions, and I didn't actually watch it out. I didn't watch it all the way through because I was like, this is definitely a hack. Was he created like a reverse proxy using like so we have one Azure function act like a reverse proxy for all his other Azure functions, and then that primary Azure function like did like the coating of the internal stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking. So to me, that sounds like if there's a limitation on B2C that says you don't get roles, you don't get anything custom in your token that, or they make it really hard, then why not have, if you have your own backend, of course, that's number one. You have your own backend, use the same user ID from when the user logs in using their MSAL or B2C or whatever login, and then have a roles table, and then have a user roles table still in your backend.
Yep.
And then you can populate more information into the token.
You certainly can add additional things to the token. I just don't know how to do that. So I was just using the stuff that was already in the token that was empty, and that seemed like an easier solution for me. But theoretically, you absolutely can. I was just getting errors when I was trying to do it, so I was like, well, there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
But if you do figure that out, I'd love to be able to do that. That would be fantastic if we could figure that out.
You can't assign roles?
Not in the BTC version. That's only introduced.
Yeah, it's like it would be a custom property on that user's profile essentially, but that sounds like it would be difficult to maintain, as opposed to doing a second lookup after you get the user and before you issue the token, if that's even possible. So do an additional lookup in your own user store or your own database that maps the Microsoft ID for that person to your own roles.
Yeah, the B2C has like outbound logs. So the way I do it is I have a function that takes in the JSON from that outbound log, and then I use that, and I just use Graph API, select the user, and then I add whatever values I want to that user. And I say right now I just use the stuff that they already have because I couldn't figure out how to add additional ones. But that's how I trigger off of the outbound logs that the BTC sign-up process produces.
And that does make a lot of sense to me. It's just finding out how to add the custom properties, what I'm going to call it, to their graph.
Yep.
Would be, to me, a more correct approach.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I say, if you figure it out, I'd love to use it.
Yeah.
So, I took it. I mean, I'll happily share the code I have. I don't know how far along the development you are, or if you're even using. You're probably not even using BTC. But if you do go that direction, I'll be happy to share what I know, because obviously, I get to help. I get to help once. If possibly, maybe you might even go that route.
You stop talking. Ah.
Whoa! On the screen, I just saw a mistake. You selected .NET 7. That can't be right.
This is correct because my current client project is .NET 7.
Oh, that's another mistake. I gotta add a sprint item.
And I am doing research in how to resolve an issue that I am encountering while we were talking, of course, not to detract from our conversation.
No, isn't the rules? The rules are always you can't go from, you gotta go 6 to 8 to 10, right?
The rule is -1.
Hello, Dark Knight. We aren't currently building anything at the moment. We're currently having a community day, which happens every Friday on the stream. In our voice channel, we have DFlux and Mojo hanging out up there. You can see their names in the top corner. And what we would be working on a normal stream, so starting Monday again, and Wednesday of next week, is a financial management tracker application that we, for the most part, completed. We're now doing some UI redesign and the actual design process, because I would love to get better at doing UI UX design.
I think you might want to read this book, actually.
Probably, but I don't read books. Is there an electronic version?
I don't know what an electronic version of 600 pages looks like.
A PDF. That's 200 megs.
No, EPUB or something, right? You don't want a PDF. That'd be scary.
You're still reading a book, to be fair.
Well, I mean, technically, yeah.
But no, I'm just like
here's my current
finding random pages, and he's talking about I don't know, I'm on menus right now, and he's just going over like different types of menus, but then like icons and cascading and when to use them, when not to use them. He has a few things about Excel in here, or he uses Excel as an example. He uses
Yes.
civilization as an example.
Yes, Marcus.
So, do you like the UI of the what is that? The Aspire? That was all written using Fluent UI, and that was Blazor as well, as far as I garnished.
I heard them talking about it, but I wasn't able to look over at the screen because I was in so many meetings.
So they have a fun little UI that like displays the Aspire, I guess, like the analytics or whatever, and what's going on with the different things you spin up using Aspire. And so they've written a little UI using the Fluent UI package that Microsoft has. I tried that package a few times. It just seemed like I already don't know Tailwind, and I guess it's like more Tailwindy kind of Tailwindy. It's more that kind of area, and so I guess to me it looked like crazy difficult CSS, but they created a really amazing UI with it. So I was thinking of maybe giving that another learn, because that seemed to be that seemed to be like a fully fleshed out UI that works. I guess what I was trying to say. But other than that, I was like, for me, all this UI stuff is like just use plain Bootstrap, put it together. Don't create something really custom. The only thing that should be custom is like a homepage. To me, other than that, just use Bootstrap and you'll be fine, because there's plenty of documentation on it. For me.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, if you don't have a specific or branded design that doesn't adapt well to existing frameworks, or you just want a quick way to get up and running, then definitely CSS frameworks are good. And Bootstrap is well documented, so is Material UI. Yeah, whatever their actual CSS framework is, and not just the design guideline. And not specific to React either.
I'm opening up this Aspire app to look at their UI again.
Did you
Go
ahead.
To answer Dark Knight's question, we are using Blazor for the UI, and at the moment we're up to .NET 7. But the application types that we can launch this UI in are varied. So I'm targeting all of them: WPF, MAUI for mobile devices, Blazor Server and Blazor WebAssembly. And then we are going to upgrade this project to .NET 8 and use the Blazor Web App template. See the ins and outs of that. Okay, go ahead, DFlux.
What was I gonna say?
UI. I'm booting it up.
You're booting it up. Did you understand what the whole Aspire thing was? Did that sound interesting to you guys? I kind of understood it. It's like Terraform, I guess, but you can do it in C#. It sounds like
it's everything I've been trying to do
in one project. So just from what I saw in Mojo's comments in Discord, it was you, right, Mojo?
Yes. I can explain like what I did over the weekend and why I was like kind of upset on Tuesday. But over the weekend, like I put together like Docker containers. I just like started a Blazor project, a web API project, Postgres database, and Redis was gonna come next. But I had to strip out all the weather forecasts out of the Blazor app so I can take the weather forecast from the web API. And like configuring this took some time to have it connect like between containers, and then the starter app they give you for Aspire does 100% what I did, but I didn't have to think about any of this. So for me, it's almost a replica of like what's going to be happening on the cloud, and it does export the manifest to set it up on the cloud. Rather than what I was going to have to figure out was demoing all this in Docker so we can start building like the beginning pieces of the app, and run it and do all this testing on local. It's basically saying like, hey, it's going to be more ready for deploying to the cloud than the way I was going to do it. and it gives you all the logs and all this stuff like all in one place. But I think you mentioned another product that did something similar.
I didn't know that. I think that was Livecoding.
Polami or
DFlux.
Polami,
Yeah.
I mentioned.
Oh, DFlux.
Polami is the only one I know that does C#, and then Terraform is the other one that's like the industry sort of prevalent standard one or whatever.
Okay. So I don't know what those two do. I've heard Terraform many times. For me, this would just look like, oh, it's kind of more configured for the cloud on day one than trying to run this on local and then configure it for the cloud after you've already built it. Once you're ready to deploy. Because like next week I think we can actually start coding things. We're finishing the data model today. And we're working on the database, but next week I think we can actually start coding things for this. Like we're just not we're going to use some of the same code, but we're not like migrating anything. We're writing a new application essentially.
Nice.
And we're all in service oriented architecture, distributed architecture. How exactly we're doing it, somewhat sure, not fully sure, but it looks like Aspire might be able to help. However, this is still in preview, so
Yeah, so Polami is like a already in product one that's very similar to us to some things that Aspire does. I didn't fully get the whole picture of Aspire, but this helps you write code in C# that actually is the deployment code that tells the Azure native layer, wherever it is, what you need.
One thing I thought it might be doing is like from like what Blazor WebAssembly would do for you, where you create a new Blazor WebAssembly Blazor Web App project, and then it scaffolds a bunch of stuff for you. So Aspire, you don't really know what it is that you want because let's say you're fairly new to it, or you know what you want and you just want it to quickly set it up for you. Then you go through some kind of new project.
Well, I think, I guess the thing that the reason why my company was even looking at this, so happened to by coincidence look at this, and Mojo, I remember speaking with you a while ago, a couple weeks ago about it, was because my company doesn't like the fact that we use keys in our GitHub Actions to authenticate to Azure, and if we want to change settings, we then have to like log into the portal, got to go get permission, then we've got to change that setting. What they'd rather have us do is one of the things we can do is we can use a service like Terraform and describe the configuration changes we want in code, and then we simply push the code as opposed to us like logging in and configuring things.
Great. Yeah. So it sounds like this thing helps you pick which components you want, and then it generates the code needed for those things, or the stuff that you need to push to Azure in order to get the resources created for it.
Yep. Which is really sweet. If we could do that in C#, I kind of like that, because I can just say, I need an API endpoint, I need a static web app, and here's the code, and then here's the artifact, or whatever they call it in YAML, and publish it. And if I need to change a setting, I can just simply update the code, and it's stored in the repo. Much like with SQL databases, any framework is good because it stores all that stuff in the repo, and it's going to be more of a complete repo. So we like the sound of that.
Sorry, I was eating. I didn't want you on mic. Yeah, Lumpia. I do think if he's listening, Livecoding had. I saw his points. If it's just kind of like a wrapper around all these things that do exist. However, I'm a two-man dev team. I'm one half of a two-man dev team. So for us, I think for me, like personally, it's just like, I've spent the past however many months I've been in this Discord asking Peter for
how do I do this on Azure?
Yeah, and Docker and stuff, and it's just like, just so I can like figure out some of those things, but this will let me stay focused on the code part, or it feels like it's gonna let me say.
It sounds like
focus on the
you
code
you
part.
have someone that abstracts the architecture part for you by using Aspire.
Yeah. When you say someone, it's like me and my senior dev are gonna figure it out.
Yeah. As in Aspire is that extra architecture person or team.
Well, Mojo, if you get into it and you need a third dev, let me know. I'll sit in the interview room.
I mean, we always need a third dev. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Make it happen. I want it.
I had a productive week for getting the team focused on building a good product. I basically called in all hands and I was like, guys, everybody needs to be involved in the requirements gathering phase, or at least parts of it, so we know what we're building. And because of that meeting, the data model's being finished today. But now we have like requirements and we know what we're building. We have an idea of what it's going to look like, but we know where everything's going to go. We know what everything's going to do. And I'm just excited to actually start writing code.
Well, kudos for you for being a leader. That's what I was thinking about doing, being more of. I got a bunch of morons where I work at, and so the trouble is we've not got good leadership. That's really the trouble. And I was like, I should do more of a leadership thing, and I should like take on these challenges and like help other teams and like get them their houses in order. But it's really like, should I bother or should I just go to not bother and maybe find a different job or something? Because there's just some levels of incompetence that's just so fantastic. It's hard to ignore.
It's beautiful, is what you mean to say.
Everybody has their own priorities.
True. And everyone has their own, I'm getting this thing done and it's the most important thing.
No, I mean like management in terms of like there's people coasting on the company dime, not doing anything for years on end, and they just people in management and they tell you can't do things the way you want to do them because they don't know why.
I don't really know how to ask this in a I don't want to call you out, Dark Knight, but I'm interested to know your thoughts in this, and this is why I'm posting this. But can either of you talk to what Dark Knight is commenting? To go along with the Aspire
so he's saying how tightly coupled do you want your code to be with the infra? Seems like Aspire is hard infrastructure. Seems like the Aspire is hard on C# to Azure. Yeah, I think it is hard on C# to Azure.
They say it's not. Oh, sorry. I was trying to pull up chat on my phone. Now they say, I don't know. They say it's cloud agnostic.
Yes, sure. That was one of the.
They say that it can go to AWS, no problem. That's what the manifest file's for.
Yep.
But
because they use similar systems. So
the comment is that it's hard on C# to Azure. So my thought is it is difficult to do on C# to Azure, or it is actually a massive effort, or not massive effort, massive like it takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of. So which of those? It's difficult to do, I think, maybe.
I mean, I guess it's obviously as a thing, it's a new thing to learn, but it is, it's like all things with C#, whether you're doing a Unity dev, or if you're doing a website, or if you're doing a desktop app, or if you're doing some sort of background service, whatever. It's like the reason why C# is kind of useful is because of how strongly typed it is. So so being able to do C# and then use that to deploy to Azure or to AWS, you should be able to do that. Just a little learning curve on exactly what the requirements are for the cloud service you want to use.
Truth. President Not Sure was saying you never want your business logic to be tightly coupled to your infrastructure code. Yeah, definitely. So maybe that's what you're talking about. It's hard to keep them decoupled, where you have Aspire, which is generating the C#, which is needed to make the cloud agnostic manifest or whatever it is to push up to your cloud service in the same repository or solution as your business logic. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, I was about to say
abstraction around your infrastructure code. That seems like a good idea. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, let's say infrastructure code. Well, part of the reason why .NET is so nice is because we don't have to do infrastructure code. So a lot of like applications, they have to like spin up like additional instances of Docker, and they have to be inside the Docker container. There's going to be a Postgres database, and that's going to manage the blah blah blah. Like a lot of things with .NET is that we can create like both microservices and monoliths and other things, and we don't need to worry too much about infrastructure code because it's just running on .NET. We can say run this .NET and it just works. So in terms of putting our business logic next to our infrastructure code, it's like there's not really a lot of it. Our infrastructure code is not a lot, right? You know what I mean? It's not a lot. So I don't know. You never want your business logic tightly. You don't want you don't want anything ever tightly coupled to anything. As a general
In
rule,
general,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
As a general rule.
Excluding that as a general rule, you want it in the same repo, you want it in the same place, you want it tracked the same way. You know, you want to make sure that your infrastructure code is working with your business logic code or your application at all times. So yeah.
Okay, so I guess let me ask this: if you're building a Blazor front end with a web API backend, when you connect these two things, when you're calling the web API, knowing you're going to deploy it in the cloud, like when you're on local, how are you doing this call? Is it localhost and a port number?
Yeah, definitely that.
Okay,
sure.
I think.
I thought you were gonna ask something else.
No.
Like I thought you were gonna ask how is that still considered not tightly coupled? Because like you're writing your front end with the specific back end in mind, but you're kind of not. But that's
right. So
that wasn't your question.
The app host. So when you create an Aspire project, and I think it's in the 17.9 preview. I don't know if it's in 0.8. It creates like you run everything from app host, and app host is what's deploying everything. But from there, like you don't actually call your like localhost port number because it knows that it's running kind of like when you can. So in Docker terms, I know I can call the container and not worry about a port if the services are running through Docker. In fact, it actually messed me up because I needed actually to call localhost for something, but it was calling the Docker container. It's messing me up. But I think so because when you deploy to the cloud, I think you can call that service rather than calling the URL that the service is on, I believe. Does that sound?
I mean, like
Yes.
if it's a WebAssembly front end, like you said, and then you're using some other mechanism for your backend, when you're doing it in dev, you still need a backend that you can communicate with from your front end. The service layer to me is the thing that does the needed communication from wherever you are to running the actual code. So from your front end, it might be a HTTP request to your dev backend. Or if you have your application architected this way, your front end project might have a direct reference to the backend code in dev, where you can call a service, but that service just runs the backend code.
Right. So I think Aspire is essentially that connection, and it helps bring that connection from dev to prod with minimal configuration. I think that's how I was understanding it, coming from knowing how to connect Docker containers better than actually deploying an app to production, or deploying like one service to production and then getting all those to connect. Because from what I've seen from it, it's when I've tried things in the past, I'm just calling URLs, and I think Aspire just like keeps that connection the same for you, where you don't have to worry about changing that in production for production, I think. But
yeah, I don't know.
We can do a
enough
proof
about
of concept
Aspire.
for next Friday.
Yeah. Just have a POC if it takes more than 4 hours and drop it.
Oh, is that the rule? Because I've been working on one for 6 months at work.
I think that's just my project manager thing. If it takes more than 4 hours, it's like, don't put a timeline on it. It's a POC. I'm going to take as long as I take on the POC within reason. But It's not going to be 4 hours. It's not going to be some specific time. It will be a reasonable amount of time.
So because you work on like a project at a consulting firm, I assume you have to deal with billable hours 9 times.
Not me directly. The
Oh.
consulting firm does. So like I'm a
Okay.
W-2 employee to the consulting firm. They give me a regular salary paycheck. And then when I fill in my time card, I bill it to this project. But it's still maximum 8 hours or maximum 40 hours a week, essentially.
Okay, but are all 40 hours being billed to that project?
Yes, for me
okay.
specifically.
Oh.
There have been times where the client said we can't bill for a certain period of time, and so we bill to our internal admin time, essentially. So we bill Sagetti, or we put in the time card targeting Sagetti as the line item, and they essentially treat us like we're benched. Utility for us goes down and whatever bonuses associated with that, and I don't care about any of that. It was just
Fair.
interesting to see that, and it's like, you know, it's through no fault of our own, right? This is kind of like being unemployed.
Okay, so I guess the way you have to manage your hours isn't one for one as my other friend that does consulting. But what I was gonna ask was, my friend was like very proud that this code that he wrote for this one client, or that he was working on for this one client, had no bugs. It ran well, you know, great on the first try. And I was like, but you're missing so much like you're missing so much debugging time, debugging billable hours on this. What are you supposed to do here?
Oh man. That's funny. It probably wasn't supposed to be as funny as I took it, but it's funny. So
what I was trying to figure out is like, are you debugging part of billable hours? But if you were working on multiple projects, I guess that's where I'd ask it more. Like, hey,
right.
Would you skip on? Would you want it to work? The first time? I think everybody does, but
so say hypothetically,
billable hours.
say hypothetically that I moonlighted, I don't know what the past tense of that is, as a individual consultant, and I had a project where I'm working on multiple applications for the client, and for the contract there is a two versions of the contract. There is a fixed fee version where you do a product, you get paid for that product, and then another part that is hourly, that says we will ask you to troubleshoot and work on any other technical issues outside of those projects. Then the answer for me is get those projects that are on the fixed fee done as quickly as possible, as cleanly as possible, no upkeep, no maintenance, just have a good quality product on the first try. On the hourly, it's get those products done as quickly as possible and as good as possible, bug-free, and have very little maintenance and little upkeep, because I care about the quality of the work that I do. I don't care about trying to squeeze money out, because there will always be other work. Did that answer?
That makes sense.
So it's all, to me, it's all about integrity. So do you want to kind of game the system, which DFlux will encourage you to do, I'm assuming?
DFlux thoughts?
Whoa, what is this slander? What is this going on?
Crack, what are you on?
No, I don't. I think you should. I have a differing opinion from one lion, where my general belief is that I don't really know what's best in my interest, but society as a whole does, and so I don't look inwards when I decide what I think is best. I look outwards, where there's one line looks inwards and says, I know what's good. I know I can judge my own work and its value, and I know what's good, and it's just a differing approach. So for me, if someone wants to pay me $500 to do something, and someone else wants me to pay me to do something else, and they want to pay me $300 to do it, I'm going to go for the $500 option on the basis that I don't really know if it's like you could say, well, the $300 option is a lot more moral value there. They're going to be nicer to you or something like this. They're really, happy people. And you're like, this sort of thing. It's like, well, I don't really know that. What I know is that the 500, if I get paid $500 an hour, I'm more valuable to society than if I get paid $300 an hour. So I will go for the $500 hour option.
Yeah, but the question was, when you have a per hour contract, let's say, you have a product that you are excited about or whatever. It doesn't even have to be excited about. You have a product that you create and it works on the first try, no bugs. They don't need to come back to you for any follow-up work. Is that really something you should be trying to do? Or what would you do in this situation? Would you try to just do the good quality work, but allow room for bugs?
So,
So that you
okay,
can
yeah.
continue to
So
build?
I can answer that question, and the way I see it is like, let's say you take your car into the dealership, right? And you go to the dealership and you say, I don't know quite the issue, and at checkout they don't quite know the issue, but can you spend an hour with my vehicle and work out and you describe off what the problem is? You don't know what the solution is. I'm going to say you describe the problem is, and the technician goes, I don't really know if I can directly quote you exactly the amount, but what I can do, it's going to be between $1,000 and $2,000. 1,500 being basically the middle point, right? So you're expecting to receive a bill at the end of the day of around $1,500. Now, if I go back to the dealership and they say, we know we quoted you around $1,500, but we actually did it for $1.50, or we did it for like $10. Do you think that they took shortcuts and maybe they haven't fixed it totally, they just want to get you out, or B, that actually instead of $1,500 they mean to actually do $2 worth of service or $5 or whatever it is?
Right.
Most people go, no, I agreed to pay $1,500. I expected to be the low end of 1,000, the high end of 2,000. If it's not inside my expectation, I'm concerned for one reason or the next. I'm concerned, did you mess up my car and you feel guilty? Is there something else going on? Can you not do the repair? Did the technician just like get a bunch of duct tape and put it underneath my car? Like, how is it we've gone from $1,500 to $10? Right, that's a huge difference, and so that's my opinion. If someone said, if I go to somebody and said this is going to cost you $1,000, and I come back and I can do it in 500, well, if I've given them a range of 500 to 1,500, it's okay because it's within the range. But if I say it's $1,000, I should bill them $1,000.
Right.
And
but that's a fixed fee, though. We're still talking about an hourly rate.
Right, so if there's a range, the range will be like an hourly rate. This is going to take from 20 to 40 hours, and I get it done in 21 hours, I'm in spec. If I get done in 10 hours, no, you build 20 hours. That's what you said. Lowest of 20, highest of 40. You build 20 hours, that was your low end. It doesn't, just because it so happens that you copy and paste code from a previous project and you work a little bit faster, you still stay in spec. You stay in the range, you set expectations, and you meet or exceed the expectation. You never change the expectation halfway through. So that'll be my position. You stick to the lowest end that you quoted out, from the 20 to 40 hour in that example.
And Marcus says this is called Upwork. On Upwork, I've learned to only accept jobs per hour because fixed price jobs just go on and on and on. So hypothetically, say I had a fixed fee contract and I had 4 milestones on it. The cool thing about that is you get to say, I finished this I'm probably going to finish this in X amount of time. So you set the price of that thing in that amount of time. There is no lower end, higher end. There's one fixed fee. And you will get paid that amount no matter what. You get it completed faster. Then I believe DFlux, you were the one that gave me this idea, which is you split the savings with the client. You say, I'm not going to, charge nothing for that time, but I will reduce the total price of it, keeping some of that savings, the hours that I didn't spend on it that I thought I would, and then move on to the next milestone. But for me, it's still like, I'm going to do however, like, it's not even a matter of I'm going to make it happen as fast as possible. I'm going to take as long as it takes on whatever thing it is to make sure that the first thing that I deliver to my client is a quality product, because that matters more than getting paid to me. Yeah. That's more of a reputation payment, I guess.
The mechanic example, I don't want to say it's a bad one. It's not necessarily a bad one. However, what a software consulting agency person acting as an agency does that I maybe has to develop internally that mechanics actually get to take advantage of is whatever the job is for mechanics, because like cars aren't like they're not doing new work unless you're getting your car souped up, which still
I mean, there's guesswork involved, there's expertise involved, there's debugging and something like debugging. You got to find out exactly what the problem is. It's not obvious. The customer doesn't know how to explain it to you. There's a bunch of diagnostic steps.
So
you
he's
have
like
to do
build
in
a
order to
car
find
for
the
me
issue.
kind of thing, as opposed to work on this existing car.
Well, so if it's an existing car, like a lot of the times, and they may waive it, but a lot of the times they have a diagnostic cost, and it's just going to be a flat fee to figure out what the problem is. But when they know after running their diagnostics what the problem is, there's a book that says this is how many hours this job should take. Like there's a standard for whatever the job is, whatever the car is, this is how many hours it should take.
Right.
And then they have their hourly rate. So even if it's a 2-hour job, they're billing you for 2 hours, even if it takes them long.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. Yep, exactly. So you have to meet or exceed expectation. You can't change expectation.
Well, in that case, he's saying that there's a prescribed
charging
amount.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still charging you for the 2 hours.
Yes.
Which I know it was agreed upon, but if you did it in an hour, can't society prosper by saving money and just spend it elsewhere?
Well, I mean, a lot of those costs are built in. We're talking about right now. Well, I guess I put this in the category of building costs. So when I do, like the guy was mentioning, Upwork and Chat and Fiverr and all these kind of places, where there's actually a whole bunch of hidden costs, and that's how that's basically if you go actually like call a plumber and say, I'm not sure if I want you to do any work for me, but I do want you to drive out and explain to me the problem. Well, if you do that 10 times, you're now losing money as a business. So you got to convert at least like 5 or 6 of those to actually income, right? Well, in the same way, if you quote customers out 10 times and 9 times out of 10, you were 20 minutes over where you should have been. Well, that's basically you're balancing the book, because you've got 5 customers you go and you never actually make any money from, because you explain it, you look at it, you look at the pipe work, whatever, you say, well, it's going to cost this, it's going to cost that, and they go, never mind, right? That costs you money. And then on the other side of it, you say, this is 5 to 10 hour job, this is a 20 to 40 hour job. And then you bill in that expectation, even if you're beneath the hours, because again, you're balancing the book in that way, because you've just done a free quote over here on this work, or you've explained an issue over here. So there's also, that's one hidden cost. There's so many other hidden costs. Like one line was explaining earlier, there are other people in his company, specifically he is on a
W2.
A W2 scenario. Well, I mean to say, you report your hours in. I imagine there's HR people that aren't connected to any particular contract, that just has to happen. The company has to have an HR person. I don't know how big the company is, but
only 300,000
size.
In Capgemini.
I think it's based on like I don't know this.
2,500 in Sagetti US and 300,000 plus in all of Capgemini, which is the parent company.
Is that people or revenue?
People.
People. I was confused. So
yeah, revenue is in the billions. So.
Yeah. So I imagine there's quite a lot of HR people, and it doesn't matter if there's any contract, no contract, or a million contracts. They still have to get paid, right? And you still got, as someone who owns a business, you still got to pay them out of the hourly. So that's all factored into hidden costs that you have to incur whenever you're doing business. So there's 2 sides of the playbook in that regard. But in terms of like, if you're creating, I think you were telling me earlier, I wasn't quite listening. You were saying, what if it was a brand new car you were building, not maintaining? You're talking about building a brand new car. Well, this goes into like the custom serve. Like for me, in my mind, I have primarily 2 services that I have. Right, you get the custom service, and then you get the sort of here's the cookie cutter service. So, like for instance, I've gone into lots of businesses and I've like helped clean their network up and make sense of the infrastructure, the networking, and like cleared out old cabinets full of junk they don't need anymore and removed old firewall. And that, to me, all that stuff is cookie cutter service. But if a client comes to me and says, we've got this completely unique problem that I've never come across before, and I can't find a vendor that will help me, or it's not a, I can't. There is no solution. That to me, that's a customized service, and I say we will do it in chunks. And I say, I will spend 10 hours a week on this problem for the next 10 weeks, and we'll see how far we get 10 weeks from now. And then we go back 100 hours later, and we see what solution came at that point. And it might be, by the way, there's another 10 days worth, or 100 hours worth of work over the next 10 weeks, or whatever it is, right? And but that's a custom problem to a custom solution, and you're going to them. That's not a cookie cutter solution. A lot of what we do in software development is cookie cutter stuff. That is, we know how to make an API, we know how to connect them up with authentication, we already know how to do all these things. They just grab that off the shelf and give that to me. So that's why you go down the dealership, and the dealership can just have a range that they're comfortable with, and you can just fit in that range. And it sort of, everyone else along the chain of supply, the car dealership, the people that did the tires, the people that did the trim, the people that did the engine, all the people get paid in, and it all works out. It doesn't one day it's working, the next day it doesn't, because you're in that range, and it's a cookie cutter solution. So hopefully that answers a little bit about that.
Yeah, for the most part. Oh,
So, yeah.
super secret stuff.
Super secret stuff. I didn't know if it was going to change my display when I connected my other display.
I panicked. I thought it was the end of the stream already. I was like, what?
It is the end of the stream. We have 5 minutes, actually. So still a decent amount of time.
We're ending 5 minutes early?
No,
it's ending in 5
that's
minutes.
when I start ending. And then we end at 30 after. Because, I bill from the hour and the half hour. So I want to be honest. And as you could tell with my response.
If One Line has secretly pledged to me prior to the stream, he secretly pledged. He came to me and said, if I get tons of subs and tons of follows, I will do a 24-hour stream on Twitch, he said.
I will do a 24-hour stream if I get tons of subs and tons of follows. Yeah.
What is the quantity?
I can say yes to that.
Tons.
Yeah.
One Line has a 3D printer, and every time he gets a sub, he prints it out in 3D, and when it weighs 1 ton, that's the quantity required.
Except that I'm not telling you whether it's imperial or metric ton.
or the size of the damn things. Like, you can just print smaller and smaller and smaller, so the target gets further and further away every time.
It's one little poop.
Yeah.
Right on the tray. Some people have streams of them sleeping. Yeah, I know. That's crazy. I did want to read this one real quick. Marcus said, so long as I remember to start the P-Work tracker. I don't know what P-Work tracker is, but I'm assuming it's your time tracking thing. I don't have to do anything. The money just goes into my bank. So again, hypothetically, say I had a client, I'd use some kind of software that does the time tracking for me. And one recommendation, if you guys remember Nerd Herder, he gave me was don't round when you do your time. You start your timer, do your work. When you're done with your work, you stop your timer. And when you bill the actual hours that you worked within whatever agreement you have in your contract.
Don't round. I can't say I agree with that.
Yep.
Always round.
And so that's a really good idea, in my opinion. Because, again, for me, everything is all about integrity. Everything is about upholding who I am and not misusing or misusing the trust that people put in me, because that hurts me. It doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt anyone else. Like, if I rounded every time to the nearest 15 or whatever, it doesn't hurt them. They're still going to pay me the
I guess
expected amount.
software is slightly different. Because I'm thinking, like, if I go somewhere, right, and they have a little issue, and I walk in the room and I immediately spot that they've unplugged the router, and I plug it back in, and I fix the issue within 8 minutes, I'm still billing them 1 hour, even though it took me 8 minutes. It was like the artist, like the story of the artist, where he's at the park, or he's painting somebody. He sits 2 people down and paints them up real quick. And he shows them that they fell in love with it. I love this picture. This is the best picture I've ever seen. This is the best portrait of us we've ever had. And he said, how much? And the guy goes, $400. And the guy goes, well, it only took you 15 minutes. And the artist goes, no, 20 years and 15 minutes it took me. It's just you only here for the last 15. So,
rounded up to the nearest 15.
But anyway, the point that the software is slightly different, because you often aren't doing a 1 hour or 10 hour or 20 hour. You're just doing a
Mhm.
200 or 400 hour. So if you're rounding every day, then you're cheating the customer. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so one recommendation for that is when you do round, do it at billing. So do all of your hours, log all of your hours to whatever your timer is, and then at the end round to whatever agreement is, nearest 15 typically. So that you're only adjusting
Yep.
your time in one place instead of for every single time you do work before you bill, you're rounding to the nearest 15 and you're inflating by however much when you've already inflated on your billing rate.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's a good tip.
President Not Sure is saying if you get to a hospital 5 minutes before midnight and you check in as inpatient, they bill you the entire day that you were only there technically for 5 minutes. That's insane. That's crazy. And Marcus said that the work that he does gets screenshotted while he's doing it for his client. Not that they ever look at it or realize it, but that's crazy. I don't know. I'm okay with it because I know that I'm working on the product or would be working on the product. It's just I get frazzled when I don't know. I have an audience in my head already.
Mojo, convert to UTC in situations like this.
Which one
Put
is
the
that in
billing in
reference to?
UTC.
Oh,
The-
if you get
the-
the
That's the
hospital.
president not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And unconvert for other situations, but
Yeah, I mean, that would benefit the hospital even more because most of their time would be, like, especially in the US, most of their midnights would occur probably at peak hours when they get the most patients. So they'll have a lot of people where they'll be charging the whole previous day in UTC.
I live in a rolling time zone.
Sometimes I go in my whoosh and forget. What word is that one supposed to be? Oh, it's actually whoosh. And it's a cycling application. Oh, yeah, I've been thinking of getting one of those treadmill things for my desk. I don't know. A whoosh.
They do look really tempting, don't they? They do. I'm on the same wavelength. I'm really thinking of getting like a little, not necessarily a cycling one, but like a walking one.
Yeah.
Where you can just go on a little walk and tippy tap. It does
Yeah.
sound like a good idea.
Yeah. But yeah, so we are at that time where it's time to do your daily stand up because we're going to start ending soon. So let's start with, let's see, billing team, DFlux.
Mm-hmm.
Stand
This
up.
is going to cost you. This is going to cost you. You know what's hilarious about this? I just before the whole
This
fact
is
that I'm
exactly
so
how stand-ups
flustered-
go, though. You're doing
Well,
it right.
Yeah, well, I'm so flustered.
Before
How
we
about-
start stand-up,
I'm so flustered by the process because how bad I am at it. The fact that like the whole agile thing is just meaningless to everybody. Like I have no clue what to say or not say or what I'm supposed to be doing. Or is everybody high fiving right now? Is it virtual?
Yes.
Is it? I don't know.
that's what it is.
Did we go into production last week? Did anybody pay attention? Did it crash? I don't know.
Do a little bit of peacocking.
Yeah, ask me a question. What am I supposed to say?
So you're supposed to say what you worked on today, and if you need anyone else for anything, and if you have any blockers that you need help with, or that you're just going to research.
All right. Well, so Friday is learning day for me. So I learned some stuff today. I did a lot of .NET watching, .NET Conf watch catch up because I didn't watch much of it during the week. And then we did some production stuff. We found out that you can impersonate a PowerShell instance of another user using a simple command because our security team where I work is incompetent, among other people. Many people there are. And blockers, let's see. Blockers, I need to do more streaming, and so the blocker is me. I block myself from doing more streaming. I need to stream more. I put my actual, I changed my name on your Discord to my actual just Twitch name, so it lines up, DFlux stream. And so maybe maybe if I get lots of followers, I won't quit working for my current employer and I'll just stream more instead.
Yes.
There you go. So that yeah, I'm blocking myself. No, it's been a productive week, productive day. And what was the last one? Was
Do you have any blockers? Is anything keeping you from continuing, or are you just going to be researching yourself? But sounds like no.
mostly probably my liver. My liver probably will give out sooner or later, based on my life choices. That's going to be the biggest problem I've got coming up. No, just a joke. I'm fine. but no, I guess my life choices, yeah, big problems. So there you go. But no, doing good.
Cool. All right then, Mojo.
I'm gonna be working on our proof of concept for Aspire and
Won't take more than 4
connecting.
hours.
No promises, but no blockers.
I don't get that.
Outside of that, if DFlux, if you need help with any of your side apps, let me do it in Aspire.
I'm
Give me all the
actually now
practice
more
I can
confused
get.
about what Aspire is. You could do side apps in Aspire. I'm confused now. We're gonna
He wants to architect your site app. Any side
okay,
jobs.
okay. We shall switch shoes. I'll come. You do my side projects, and I'll come do your job where you work.
Okay, you just write. You just write Excel functions, or you grade for Excel functions.
Wow, that's depressing.
Okay, guys, take this
Hey.
offline after the stand-up.
Yes, we're being his blocker right now.
My blocker right now is that the team doesn't do their stand-up. They instead talk for like an extra 15 minutes before I can do my stand-up so I can leave. Got 1 foot out the door. I've been working on this WPF window issue where I can't actually get the scale of the display if it is a secondary display that the app is starting on. And I am struggling to find out how to do that, but I'll be doing a lot of research and figuring it out. Hopefully we'll have it done by the end of the day, provided I can get enough research done. So if anyone does have any ideas, email me. Don't try to set up a meeting with me. That just doesn't work. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you all for coming for stand-up. And yeah, that's it. Any last words?
You want to do any mixed reality dev on the way out?
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Is that who you want to see?
That's my vote. Yeah.
Awesome. Then that's where we'll head. I love watching his streams.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So I'll tell everyone about that shortly. All right then. So that ends our stream for the day. You guys have any 2-second last words?
No,
Like-
no, I'm toasty. I'm happy. I think I got my plug-in relatively well, smoothly. I don't really notice. So thank you so much again, One More Line. It's really good to have these Fridays to get to hang out and chat and catch up. And I learned a bunch. .NET Conf has been really cool this week, so I have had quite a good week. So appreciate you streaming as always. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank chat. Join Discord. No blockers.
And then nice. All right, so once again, thank you all for being here. That's community day for you in a nutshell. We just hang out, we talk about tech stuff, especially stuff related to content that we're doing on the channel, .NET stuff, and yeah, I hope you had a lot of fun. So the person that DFlux was alluding to is this guy named Solo Solipsist. He's a mixed reality developer. Oh my gosh, I can't spell right now. Solipsist. All right, so we're gonna raid over to him. He streams every Friday around this time, or maybe 30 minutes before now. And we tend to hang out over on his channel. A lot of times I do try to, not a lot of times, but I have tried to go to someone like Dragon Spirit Games in the past, also, who's a Unity developer who I love to watch and hang out with, but he's not streaming today either. Just spreading the love. So I'll be lurking on a few people's streams, hanging out with Solo. If you guys feel like joining, you are welcome to. No obligation. And yeah, I'll be back again on Monday so that we can continue our UI design. And yeah, later Marcus, later Erbody. I saw Tyron came in for like a half second, I think, and I didn't even read it out. Sorry about that, Tyron. I think it was popular because it was human readable. Oh, VB. So it made it more approachable. True. And I think I did remark on it. But anyway, thank you for being here, Tyron. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier. I was all over the place. Okay, ciao for now. Be back again on Monday. Feel free to check out the posting of this video either in Twitch VODs or on YouTube after 24 hours or so. Bye.